Today is October 9th, 2025, 6:11 p.m. And I've been sitting around vibing with my mother about a lot of issues dealing with life, regarding who and what God is, who and what we are as children of the Most High, God, chosen ones, dealing with life and world affairs, dealing with aspects of who and what we are as human being, and whose authority as human being we are here under. Dealing with society as a whole, the evolution of society as a whole, dealing with the evolution of mankind, dealing with the evolution of mind, knowing thyself, and knowing thyself comes with living life, growth, developments, experiences, the things that, the struggles that we overcome in life and how we overcame them, the powers that motivated us divinely to overcome these obstacles, even down to the Israelis and the war going on in Gaza, and this new speech about peace. And for those that are religiously inclined, or in regards to religious dogmas, the prophecies, you know what I'm saying? Prophecies are created through repetition, through a habitual or repetition of systemic conditionings. We're dealing with lightness, with the darkness of the earth, of the world, of mankind. But life is a lesson. Our circumstances are lessons. Conditions, and our social atmosphere and climates, our lessons, our dealing with our fellow human being, our lessons, every single thing, good, bad, and ugly, are lessons for us to learn something in life. This is how we obtain wisdom and discernments, because the Creator blessed us all with that spirit of discernment. Now, are we awakened to this knowledge of? That's the difference. It gets deep when you looking at life, and how the world evolves. You know, me and my mother, my mother, she dropped out of school to raise my brother and I at that time. She dropped out of the 9th grade to raise us, whereas my father, he continued to work at the hospital where he was born New Year's Day with his twin, Alvin, Uncle Lil Man. But so, my mother, she's educationally illiterate, not slow or stupid, none of that. She's my oracle. And you gotta understand, names, labels have significance in the identity of a person. But have an impact on our identity as people. So that's real powerful and impactful coming from myself. And it's not just because she's my mother, it's her walks through life, her wisdom and her experience is what makes her the most intellectual being to me, and her strength, her spiritual strength, her soul strength. My mother, she's been through the drug epidemic, for years, battled with addiction. But that's a story that is made for her to share. But we been discussing certain issues that is basic when you think about it. It's like, how in the world does the whole world of religion, the different denominations, denominations of religion, of Islam, of Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, like the basic general questions that seems to be the most difficult questions for anyone of that sector to answer, especially religious scholars and pastors, priests, reverends, rabbis, of who and what God is, and how the majesty and divinity of God, the creator of the heavens and earth, operates in our humanity. Why is it so difficult to shed this light on these sensitive subjects when people for centuries, for millennia, have been studying God? Why is one of the most difficult questions that the common person who's being introduced to religion have this ostracized? Why is it so difficult for these beings to be specific in their descriptions as to who and what God is, or where God is, and but they'll give a broad statement of, oh, look at the heavens and the earth, and look at the stars, and look at God. But it's one of the most beseeched and revered questions for them to answer. That's what has humanity and mankind so tricked and deceived and misled by the wiles of the devil, of the enemy, our common foe, and their corruptions on this earth. All of these religions are so adamant on teaching about the Spirit of God, the power of God, the miracles of God. And they point at physical attributes of God, or physical depictions of who and what God is, but can't describe God. So everyone is stuck on this physical. That's how the devil, our common enemy, robs us, kills, steals, and destroys. We're not just physical beings. We're not just human beings. We're spiritual beings having a human encounter. We're physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Physical, mental, and spiritual. A mind, a body, and a soul. We've been living for the durations of our lives on this physical plane, so that's what we're most accustomed to. Catch that up there. That's why it's this physical that we're accustomed to. We neglect that spiritual element, that mental element of us. So that's how, just say if we were blind, how would we navigate through this earth? If we were blind, how would we navigate through this earth? How would we get around with our senses? Things that make you go hum. And that's why we're so driven by the physical and the material things of this earth. Riches. Riches are materials. Physical is an element, a physical substance. Or flesh, cars, houses, even that dollar got a physical. That's why we see that dollar in them dominations, them denominations. But what do we know about the Spirit? And it's people that's been here for 50, 60, 70, 80 years, living in this matrix, can only tell you about overcoming physical struggles and obstacles and things of that nature. But is incapable of giving you the element of what the spirit and the soul is, because as mankind we so bent on the physical things of this earth, and that's Satan is the ruler of this physical earth. The devil is, Shaitan is the ruler over this physical earth. So that's all we know. And that's how we're so lost, how we're so deceived. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And man is so deceived by that you look at the physical manifestation of, and it's pleasing to the eyes and it's stimulating to the mind. That's how Eve was so rawly deceived to bite that fruit, or conned into biting that fruit, because Eve could see the devil, the serpent. But Eve had no knowledge of the spirit of the divinity of the creation of all the earth and the heavens. We in this new era, this new age, in this 21st century, we driven by that bag. We driven by that car, that house, the physical things of this earth. And that's one of the things that Yeshua, he riddled in his metaphor about the universal principality or law of detachment. Detach yourselves from the physical things of this earth. Be not deceived by the teachings of false prophets. It's so deep though when you think about that. What about the spirit? Science can't bust down the algorithm of what the spirit is, the nature of the spirit is. Scientists can't bust down the nature of what the spirit is. That's our essence, our animation. And then by name, they put the name on, so we've been taught imagery. We've been taught or conditioned to imagery. So when you hear the word God, then you put this picture that Michelangelo drew of his lover, of his gay lover, and call him Yeshua or the Messiah. A European. Yeshua, Jesus the Christ of Nazareth, is deeper than the content of a man's skin. It's a divine energy. He's a divine energy, a divine form of intellect, a divine spiritual dynamic, a power in which we all possess. That's why I say become Christ-like. Know thyself. Ye are gods, ye are children of the Most High. On that note, you feel what I'm saying? This has been the most challenging of facts and knowledge to be hit with. Or to ingest. Or or to try to wrap our minds around why we as human beings are easily deceived and easily tricked out of our freedoms, out of our lives, out of our happiness, out of our peace, out of our divine abundance of wealth and love, and because it's all attached to a physical imagery. And it took me approximately 50 years to get to this level right now today. On the level of where I'm at, knowledge is power, but the execution of that knowledge is powerful. Execution of that knowledge is powerful. Know thyself, ye are God. So everything that's being spoken about on the spiritual of God, we are